speaker today is Yvette Wharton from Waipapa Taumata Rau, University of Auckland, and they'll be talking about, are you ready for connected research data management? Lessons from Waipapa Taumata Rau. So everyone give her a hand.
And I'm also joined today by Sarah, so we're actually co-presenting, but she'll talk after me. So kia ora everyone, welcome to our talk. Better put my glasses on so I can see the screen. Today, Sarah and I will share our research data management journey and the connections that we're trying to make with data management planning at Waipapa Taumata Rau, University of Auckland. And in particular, we're going to talk about the rollout that we've done of the data management planning tool in the past year. What we've learnt in the process, the recipe summary that we've kind of been working on and come up with as part of doing that connecting of research data management through DMPing. Some of you may have heard us talk about our research data management journey before. So it began back in 2020, thank you Laura, in response to a series of external drivers and growing awareness within the university of the need for data management. And it started with a data management maturity assessment. So it was informed by the development of a capability model. You can go and have a look at that up online. And there were a bunch of subsequent activities that occurred based on the findings and the recommendations from that stocktake report. Since then, we've achieved a series of the recommendations from that. We've got a Pūtiaki Rangahau, a Maori data steward. We have implemented a research data management classification based on risk. And we started a couple of big initiatives, one of which was the data management planning tool, machine actionable. From that, we spent some time gathering user requirements, doing a pilot, which I'll talk to quickly in the next slide. And then last year, we actually rolled out the DMP and did a whole lot of engagement, which is what Sarah will talk to. I kind of think of the process that we went through as a bit like doing testing in a development kitchen. I like cooking, so it kind of works for me. The process went through a series of phases. We established and prioritised a whole lot of user requirements through doing interviews and some co-design workshops. Then we did a proof of concept with 3 of the top options. And finally, we piloted Redbox, which is the data management planning tool that we're using, with our research participants. So that was kind of like baking the test cookies, that first batch, before we productionized the system. So our recipe was really thinking about the menu, the ingredients, and the steps involved, particularly for the engagement activities, which have really been key for rolling out the data management planning tool, both with researchers, but also with the wider network of research support services that actually in some way touch and provide services that are parts of areas of the data management plan, things like storage, ethics, publication. So that we can use the data management plan to start that journey of connecting research data management and making it easy for researchers, but also providing them we had a big conversation, many of you were in the room yesterday, thinking about research data management as being important. So to develop the menu, we thought about the different people that are involved, different layers from the researchers outwards. The different filters and lenses around researchers, and connecting in line, so things like lab groups and schools and departments, and then aligning with the research support teams on guidance and different support that was available, and also considering the external entities, including QSIF, who actually Queensland Cyber Infrastructure Foundation, who developed Redbox. So I'm going to hand over to Sarah now, and she's going to talk about the engagement.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Sarah Hopkins. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the engagement work we did last year in 2025. So to get started, we agreed upon some objectives across 3 domains. So this was about including goals to increase awareness for researchers and to establish useful and scalable support and training options across the university. We spent the first half of the year on the support and training through our prioritised rollout groups. But actually, I'm going to talk about the awareness part first. That button? Perfect. So we're going to share some insights from the awareness campaign first. So on the left in this slide are the questions that we used to understand what awareness requirements sounded like with researchers. And on the right is a list of self-service materials and collaborative activities we used to address those questions and an overview of the people that we needed to make that happen. So we employed existing communication channels across the university, like the university's intranet and our own research hub that Laura has talked about already, to point researchers in the direction of the online tool support and training mechanisms. I'm going to share some examples with you now. So on the left is our primary data management planning or DMP page on the research hub. It provides a really basic overview of the process, and it links researchers directly to the tool. And on the right are 2 of the overview flyers or getting started guides that we created that were designed to be shared via email with researchers and postgraduate research students to get them started. We approached research leaders in each faculty of the university. So below the faculty dean or assistant deans responsible for research and postgraduate research, as well as faculty-specific research services managers. We provided an overview to each of these people of the new DMP tool, and we outlined how data management planning can support researchers in their faculty. So the initial meeting was designed to secure leadership endorsement and to support those leaders to cascade the messages throughout existing faculty communication channels. So faculty newsletters, faculty meetings, and through email campaigns. We also spoke to research committees, both at postgraduate and research levels, again to share those messages with those delegates and to enable them to cascade messages throughout their departments. So I'm just showing this as an example of how we spoke about the benefits of data management planning for some of the training and awareness audiences. So we spoke about the ability to protect research data and to connect research teams, but also to enable researchers to understand compliance a bit better with university and funder and ethical requirements, and to be able to demonstrate good research practices. We also talked a little bit about the downstream effects of supporting them to increase their competitiveness for research funding where data management planning or good research practices were needed to be documented, and to help them with their ethics approvals. And we have found that that's been increasingly important because, absolutely important. In our user survey last year, we found that 70% of the people that did use the tool last year, primarily their motivation was because they needed a DMP for their ethics application. We also talked about the ability of data management planning to support the university to be able to connect governance and research practices. Researchers care a little bit less about that part. Depending on the audience, 1 or more of these areas might be emphasised or something else entirely. So we might have been talking about documenting consideration of multi-data sovereignty principles and how to implement those across the research data lifecycle when working with Māori community or iwi groups, for example. So the DMP tool user guide, together with email support, provides backup information to help users interact with the tool. Any technical bugs or issues would involve working with the QSIF team as external vendors of Redbox. A big part of ensuring that the tool remains easy to use is the feedback and guidance, is feedback and review of the guidance to support users, researchers to use the tool. So keeping that up to date seems to be working quite well, alongside a pretty straightforward, easy to navigate user experience. We did do a user survey at the end of last year, which helped us to obtain some feedback of that user experience to help support changes into the future as well. Primarily, the DMP tool is self-guided. The helper text that's embedded within the tool provides context for each field, and it links to further information to explore on the Research Hub. Our rollout groups were used, they ranged from small lab groups to large-scale research institutes. And we used those to provide opportunities to explore training and guidance across a range of disciplines and needs. So we also provided a small number of generalised training workshops as well to continue to refine our training requirements. On the left is an example of the helper text within the tool, showing the short guidance and links to the Research Hub. And on the right, we have that main Research Hub page, which has expandable sections linking to the user guide and other support. DMP also includes a range of touch points with subject experts and service providers across the data management planning journey. Close collaboration within a strong network ensures effective and timely support across the university. So we developed the RDM activity and support map to help research support teams to be able to visualise the information or the guidance that researchers are given to undertake activities that are described within a data management plan, and also, to link them to the teams that are supporting those activities. And finally, the rollout groups were intended to deploy use of the DMP among research groups that were already working with sensitive research data to increase adoption, compliance, and RDM maturity. So we worked with research groups to determine the scope of training and to focus on their areas of need and refine materials to tailor the key messages that they needed. We didn't actually find that this process resulted in a significant increase in the numbers of DMPs that were created, but we did find it really valuable and informative to help refine approaches to training and support that can be transitioned into sustained delivery. So some of the lessons briefly that we found were important were exploring strategies for different shapes and sizes. So working with a range of groups to tailor resources and training approaches, and particularly tailoring that messaging. So researchers' needs across the university are quite different. Tailoring the messages to meet them where they are was really important. And one of the key things really, if it's not mandatory, which it's not at the University of Auckland, we need to make it valuable and connected. And I'm going to hand back to Yvette to talk about that in just a second. But absolutely, if it's a solution to their needs rather than just an extra thing that they need to do is really important. We also found that it has value as a research data management teaching tool. And in our setting, we're talking about this is leading to discussions around DMP becoming a mandatory PhD milestone, as an example. And we have, in turn, developed some guidance and discussion guides for supervisors and postgraduate students. So here's a little glimpse of what that kind of looks like in terms of providing an introduction to data management planning, what that might look like across the projects for a doctoral candidate, for example, and providing some discussion guides at various points. So getting started, after data collection, after data analysis, and before thesis submission, to just kind of check in on the really important things and break it down at each step. So I'm going to hand back to Yvette to put that all together.
Of connections, something that was really important for us was integrating with our university systems, so identity, for example, and bringing in where people are adding project members, being able to look that up from university information. So we're pulling in and showing ORCID IDs, for example, along with people where we can do a lookup for those. We actually are, for logins, we're using Tuakiri, and that's so that we can have collaborators also come into the system and work on the DMP with our researchers. We're really looking to integrate it with a number of our systems. So next off the block, coming very shortly, is integration with storage. So the request for storage that currently comes from other places is linked in with the data management plan. So we're pulling information into the system so that we're actually collecting, is this sensitive data and all of that sort of thing from the data management plan, rather than our researchers having to enter it again in another location. We're also aligning very closely with ethics. At the moment, this is light touch, but it's an ongoing and evolving space. And the research security assessments. So for trusted research, we've linked in and we've got information in the system for that where you need it, people can tick certain boxes and it appears. And the other side of this is really aligning guidance and information So providing the different roles and responsibilities, things like sovereignty and retention, so guiding best practice for our researchers. So the recipe: awareness, support, training, a whole series of ingredients, self-service materials, collaborative activities, a process so that we can evaluate it, talk with people and refine what we've got. And going through some steps, making sure we've thought about our stakeholders and investing time very much in building relationships with people. And then what are the key drivers for those different groups and those different people? And adapting as we go has been really important. So we think this actually is something you can generalise and do things for other systems, but it's the start of our journey of connecting research data management. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions for Yvette and Sarah? Sorry, we'll go to the back first. Yep.
Hi, Yvette. So how much of the sort of life cycle of a research project is the DMP supporting? Are you expecting researchers, project leaders to come back in as the project progresses and update the DMP? And how are you facilitating that?
Do you want me to start? Do you want to go?
I don't mind. Go for it.
So definitely the return to the DMP is our vision. It's not a once and done thing. It's a come back and retouch it. So as you go through those different stages, so the guides and the information that you saw Sarah talk about, that's really some of our prompts. And then things like when you need storage, you're coming into the DMP. So increasingly connecting it into the systems and bringing back actually the information about what storage was set up into the DMP as well. So trying to facilitate it in that way, as well as, I guess, driving a culture change is one of the big things, is actually having people have the time, but also value doing data management. We've had a lot of supervisors see the value in using it as conversations with their PhD candidates and their students. So that's something you'd come back to. It can. We haven't got that turned on at the moment.
Thank you.
Was another question here?
Does your system, and did you look at having kind of a little like full DMP, or is there branching in forms like I do or don't need storage, or I do or don't need ethics?
No, there's no branching.
There's a little bit of branching. So if you're doing trusted research and you need to do a research security assessment, if you answer certain questions, then all of that appears.
It's tricky because in theory, there isn't a section that isn't possibly available to be, or relevant to be filled in. It doesn't contain a lot of because by definition, under the RDM policy at the University of Auckland, the people that are directed to thou must create a data or have a data management plan for your project involve sensitive research data. So they are almost always going to be needing the ethics and the sensitivity section. For example, there isn't really sections that they don't need. But that doesn't mean that they need to fill out every... So our hurdle and our challenge is trying to educate that part. That here's a form, it's not like ethics, and that you have to fill in every answer, and every answer will get scrutinised. This is for your benefit, and it's your value, and that's quite hard. So people that are very diligent, that want to create an essay or fill it in, find it really quite an onerous potential thing to have to do, as opposed to here's just my opportunity for my space.
I think the light version is there's 7 mandatory fields that you must complete to save the form, and it does flag if you haven't completed any of those fields, and you can click on the link and it takes you to that field. So I guess the light version is the 7 mandatory components.
Yes, that.
We'll do one last question.
I'm speaking from RDA, but even CoData and World Data System, DMP plans are like overhead for a lot of researchers, but the ECR sector is actually one of our really growing and exciting groups, because to educate them on the reuse of their data, the importance of getting their data management plans, really well done and then ready for their data to be reused in the future, is good for us down the track, because they will understand that it is an asset. Are you looking to include that in the program so that they see that this is a global initiative that they're contributing to by having their data sets available, and formally lodged through your DMP process? Is that something that?
Do you mean actually including the data itself, or storing the data with or just the awareness and
Just
education?
The awareness, of the importance of it. So it's not just an overhead and a burden, but it's you're doing something to people and planet in the future.
I think, and we've talked about this a lot in the last couple of days and brief, you kind of need 20 different strategies. And for some people and for some researchers, that will work quite well.
Yeah.
But then I don't find that works particularly well in our medical and health faculties and talking about health data per se. I think there's still here quite some time to, somewhere to go there. But hey, you've got to start somewhere. But for them, different other strategies are their motivation. So other reasons, the protection of the data and knowing where it is and trying to minimise the poor handling and reuse, like hand down data to postgraduate students, things like that. But that all has to work in together.
I think part of it comes to training and workshops and talking to people, and then as you get more, you kind of get, it's a little bit of a snowball effect, I think, for that sort of thing. So people going, I don't have to publish the whole data, I can publish some information about it, which means I might find collaborators. So it's finding those sort of bits. And I should have said the other thing, to help reduce the burden on our researchers, we are also going to connect in with our research system, which is in the current process of being updated, so that we actually pull a bunch of information into the data management plan that we already know, so they don't have to enter as much. So it's really helping them go through that thought process of what are the things that are really useful for me to think about the data.
Please join me in thanking Yvette and Sarah again, all our speakers. Now officially lunchtime, and just a quick shout out to Sempre, who was our lunch sponsor today. So go bother them, go get a cool pen from them as well. They've got these very cute pens.